What is up and good morning everybody, welcome back to Marvel Rivals and welcome back to the channel. Today I figured we would make a Loki spectating video since season 1 is just around the corner and Loki is the first skin that you actually get in the battle pass. If you are going to get that, I thought it would be appropriate to kind of do a Loki spectating video. This guy is in the top 100, so this is a very high ranked lobby. And as you can see, he plays very well. He goes 24 and 40, 9k damage, 32k healing, pretty good. So Loki is definitely a character that I think a lot of people are kind of scared to try out. A lot of people just don't really know how he works or know how you're supposed to play him or position or something like that. So hopefully this video will clear that up. We'll see what this guy does, what he does well, what he doesn't do so well, and go from there. So we'll get right into the replay here, and he puts down a couple clones right off the rip. One of them is on high ground on his right. Both of them are actually on high ground on his right, but both in slightly different positions. And if you didn't know, Loki's auto attacks are mimicked by the clones that he puts out. He can have 2 clones at a time. So every time he's auto attacking his tanks here, he's healing them, and then his clones are also healing them. He does a lot of tank healing as well in this game. You'll notice that he actually does a ton of tank healing. So multiple clones attacking the tank and making sure they get topped off. Loki is very good at that. So your tanks can soak a lot more damage. Unfortunately, the Mantis on his team gets picked by the Hawkeye here, but they're still able to hold strong with the shift being popped, the left shift being popped from the Loki. So definitely is able to keep a few people alive, and the left shift is something that he usually uses in this game to keep himself safe more so than others, because the clones will do that pretty much well enough themselves with the amount of raw healing that Loki can do. So you'll see him save his left shift and his right click for situations where he is getting dove. He has a little bit more pressure on him, that sort of thing. So again, just holding this choke, this is probably one of the hardest chokes on this map for sure, if not the hardest. So he's definitely they're just trying to keep this little corner locked down. He has ultimate. His team is pretty close on ultimate. They're close to Magneto ult, Strange ult, and actually pretty close to Psylocke ult. So the enemy Doctor Strange ult comes in. He actually steals his own Mantis ult and uses her ult to make sure that his team is staying a little bit safe. Sees the enemy Magneto ult come out, gets out of line of sight to make sure he doesn't get one shot there, and they are able to actually survive this push when the enemy blows a couple ults there. So very strong. Again, gets 2 clones out there and tops off the Strange very quickly, and they're able to reverse the pressure back on the enemy team, taking out the Doctor Strange and making a pretty big stagger. As you can see, Hela will be up in 2 seconds and Strange will not be up for another 5. So this is the place that he put his clone on at the beginning of the game. So right up in that corner. It's actually kind of behind a tree, so definitely harder to see. I think that's a really good place. I've never seen anyone place clones there. Definitely something to keep in mind if you're playing defense on this map. Good place to put the clones. Hardly anyone's going to look over there, and it has a really good angle on both the enemy and on his tanks when they are holding that corner. So just holding here, playing safe, making sure that he is staying back away from where he can get picked. His Psylocke ults ends up taking out their Mantis, and the Iron Fist dives in. He's able to help his DPS out and do a little bit more damage there, and again top off his tanks very quickly. As you can see, he's got another full clone doing that. So they're able to push the enemy back to spawn. Their Doctor Strange has ult ready, their Hela has ult ready, and their Mantis has ult ready, so they should be good for this next push. He opts to swap with this clone. I typically like to save my clone swap sort of thing for situations where I'm getting in a little bit of a bind. So you have a lot of ways to get out if you've been dove. I like to keep one clone that's a little bit more offensive and one that's kind of my getaway clone, just so I can swap with it and get away from situations that I need to. He pops his left shift prematurely there. He knows that his tank has extended a little bit, so when his tank ends up backing up, he backs up into a good healing area. So that was a very nice play there. He helps keep his whole team alive, and once again they wipe the enemy team with just 14 seconds left on this point. The Iron Fist goes for a flank there, and they actually take him out. The enemy team switches to Black Panther, and he sees the Black Panther thinking about going for him, so he right clicks, goes invis, and his Magneto ults. Unfortunately, the Doctor Strange in the enemy team does block it, so they get very little value out of that. And now we are in overtime. the enemy Hela ults, the enemy Mantis ults, and the enemy Iron Fist ults. He ults his Mantis ults, and they try and chain ults there, but unfortunately he gets absolutely tapped by the Doctor Strange ult because of that double dipping damage. So he gets pretty much one shot, and the enemy is able to round this corner and wipe them in overtime, and pretty much take this first point for themselves. So they lose a lot of momentum here, and ordinarily they wouldn't be able to get back there in time. The enemy's probably going to take that, but Doctor Strange does portal them up here. Unfortunately, he goes in first, and the walkway that he was looking to stand on crumbles. He drops his left shift, but the clone actually dies right away, or the crystal dies right away, so he's not able to get a whole lot of healing. Grabs his health pack trying to stay alive, and Doctor Strange just runs him down, and his whole team ends up falling after that. So they get wiped once again, and the enemy is able to take this first checkpoint in overtime, which is very, very unfortunate. They still have plenty of time. They still have 2 minutes and 30 seconds for the next checkpoint, but I think this was definitely a bit of a negative swing. You can see that this kind of strategy crumbles pretty quickly if the enemy is able to coordinate their ults a little bit. Just defending this flank over here, trying to help out the Hela, uses his left shift so there's no threat of dying, and tries to get some damage on this Black Panther. They opt to take high ground here. His Strange and his Magneto are also playing up here, and they jump down. Playing Loki on high ground is definitely a good idea too. Helps you get a little bit better of an angle with your splash damage heals. Pops his invis so Panther doesn't know exactly where he is, and takes him out with the splash damage right there. And again, setting up in the same way that he did first point, keeping one clone on high ground, one clone a little bit more aggressively, and focusing on healing tanks, keeping his team alive with those auto attacks. When he can do damage, definitely doing that as well. Pops his left shift there to help keep his Doctor Strange healthy, and maybe even save the Hela if she needed to dip into that. You probably will not die within the healing of the Loki clone, so if you see one of those and you're getting dove or something like that, definitely step into the healing area. It will keep you alive pretty well. So the Rocket on the enemy team does ult. He gets taken low here. Doesn't really want to commit his left shift to survive, so he just runs over to this health pack and starts trying to get a little bit of pressure on the back line. Unfortunately, the Doctor Strange, the enemy team, ults with their Mantis. Their Hela also ults. Their Psylocke and Doctor Strange ult, but unfortunately the enemy is able to get a lot more value out of their ults there, and his team goes down, giving up this second checkpoint. So not a perfect game by any means. You know, I don't think there's a clear loser, I guess, or someone whose whose fault this is, but his team recuperates pretty well here. They kind of regroup, they get in a better position, and they try and play for this corner. As you can see, he's posturing in this corner, getting a little bit more set up, making sure that he has his two clones out and is able to do a little bit more healing. So as his team pushes forward, he changes positions of his clones, so now they are in a better position to keep line of sight. He gets one shot by this Panther here, which is pretty unfortunate as his Mantis ults. His team is able to push the enemy back, and his Hela is actually able to get a kill, which triggers the Loki Hela team up, and he is able to be revived. Don't think he was super prepared for it because he just kind of stands there for a second. He was waiting on his respawn timer, but suddenly they're in a pretty good position. The enemy has 1 minute and 20 seconds left to push this point. He has 2 clones up, so he's going to be doing some big numbers. Now he only has 1 clone up. Make sure to get that other clone out for sure, and top off his tanks with his left shift and his auto attacks. He steals Mantis ult. He sees the Rocket and the Iron Fist commit ult there, and so he steals his own Mantis ult, uses that to make sure that his team survives, and they are able to push the enemy back to their spawn again. Unfortunately, his Psylocke does go down, but they have plenty of ways to survive here, and the enemy will back up to try and regroup. So still doing pretty good here, still holding, not giving up. Love to see it. His Doctor Strange drops really low, but he's able to top him very, very quickly with the help of one of those clones. Pops his left shift, maybe a little bit prematurely there as the enemy Mantis ults, and they're able to just get kind of run down here, unfortunately, with the enemy Doctor Strange committing his Eye of Agamotto. Miraculously, like 5 of them survive there, 4 or 5 of them survive, so he's able to set up another clone. They're able to get a little bit more counter pressure on this Iron Fist, take him out. And his Magneto, his Mantis, and his Doctor Strange all ult there to push the enemy off the point with 6 seconds left in the round. So they're able to just count out this timer and nobody is able to touch and trigger overtime. So very, very good recovery. The enemy unfortunately does get 2 capture points, so they will have their work cut out for them a little bit, but definitely not a bad round at all. So that was how you play Loki on defense. Again, just playing very, very safe, keeping one clone in a little bit more of a safer place, so you always have that, you know, two auto attacks or something like that, healing targets, and one clone that's a little bit more aggressive. That's what seems to be kind of the thing that most people do. So they know that this corner is going to be a little bit rough. So right here, I think they're all just probably farming ults. They know they're not going to take this first push, but he's making sure to get a lot of good healing into his team, making sure this Mantis stays up. And as you can see, he's already at 45% ult charge, which is a little bit crazy for the game only being about 30 seconds in. His Magneto is also at about 60%, and his Mantis is also getting up there as well. So they are going to have a lot of ults to throw at this little corner and make sure that they can get through this for sure. So dropping a little bit more of an aggressive clone. He sees the Punisher turret, so he wants to make sure he gets a little bit more damage on that. And this clone is actually staying relatively safe as it is blocked by that wall and the payload at the same time. Puts a clone on high ground. That is his kind of getaway clone as well. So if he were to get dove right now, he could just swap positions with that and stay pretty safe. Pops his left shift as he drops low, heals him up pretty much instantly, and drops another clone so he can top off this Magneto in about 3 auto attacks. So very, very good. The enemy Punisher ults and the Magneto on his team actually still opts to use Magneto ult, even though it can backfire a little bit there. His Mantis is already ulted, so when the Agamotto comes in, he waits, holds it, and then once it's over, he ults his Mantis again, uses Mantis ult, and helps his team push forward a little bit. The Magneto taking out the Punisher there was very, very big for his team. Ends up one-shotting the Punisher and not having it backfire. Hela is going to go for him on point, so he just drops his left shift on himself, and she's not able to take out any of the clones or kill him through it. So they're able to sit on this point, get it a little bit of extra distance, and go into the second checkpoint with 4.5 minutes on the clock. Making sure to top this Strange as we turn the corner here, puts a little bit more of an aggressive clone, so he has line of sight of the enemy, and making sure he keeps this Magneto at full HP as they round that corner and prepare to fight. Their Psylocke actually gets a pick on the Punisher, the enemy Punisher, and actually ults the Doctor Strange there, so very, very good. Unfortunately, the Strange does get rezzed by Rocket, but he is just content sitting here, setting up on point, dropping a clone, just kind of sitting here, ushering in the new year, sitting on point. So love that. Make sure to top the Magneto there real quick, and their Loki actually pops Mantis ult, it looks like. So they're able to, the enemy team is able to push them back a little bit. Don't get a whole lot of value off of that though. They just end up getting pushed back again. His Hela ults, and she is able to unfortunately do nothing because the Doctor Strange floats up there and blocks most of it. So, you know, but it does back up the enemy team. His Magneto commits ult. They get a pick on the enemy Hela, and then Magneto just kind of runs people down. And it seems like they take this point kind of for free. I know they got like a couple picks, but the enemy team just really backs up and gives them that whole corner, basically this whole corner. Their Doctor Strange runs it down here. He just teleports in by himself. Nobody else comes through there, and they're able to just take him out very, very easily. At this point, they know they're very, very close to their objective. They still have 4.5 minutes, so they went even on that full point, and he's just dropping some aggressive clones, trying to get some damage and make some space so this payload can go forward. The enemy Magneto, Rocket, and Loki all ult, so they back up just a little bit. His Mantis commits ult to try and get some counter pressure on it, and his ult comes up right then as well. He ends up ulting the Mantis here too, and tries to commit it here to make his team survive a little bit better. The enemy Doctor Strange does ult and kill their Psylocke, but he's able to keep most people alive because he early Mantis ult there. So they're just trying to make some space. This payload is very, very close to where they need it to be, and their tanks are just trying to touch point to keep them from getting that distance. Unfortunately, when you get in situations like this, you're just going to take so much more damage. They're able to get a 4-piece on the enemy team and secure the victory with a score of 3-2. So I hope that made Loki seem a little bit less daunting. I know there was a lot being said there and a lot going on, but This character, there's a lot of different things that you can do with him. There's a lot of high level stuff that you can do with him, but at a very basic level, he will do some pretty good healing. He will do some pretty good damage as well. So just try this guy out, get a little bit more comfortable with him. And as you can see, this guy doesn't do anything super crazy, but is still able to put up 32,000 healing, 9,000 damage, and go 24 and 40. So with the highest healing in the game in a top 100 lobby. So definitely try this character out. I think he's someone that I initially dismissed a lot. So, but he is a lot of fun. He'll play really cool. He'll play very unique. So give him a try. I will also link the Loki guide that I made. It's very, very simple, very, very basic, but beginner's guide in the comments. Don't forget to like and comment on the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and let me know what you guys want to see more too in comments. If there's a character that you specifically want me to spectate, I'm happy to do that for you guys. I'm always looking for new suggestions, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.